Hopefully you've all had a chance to sign in out front so that you can fire exits are marked. And can we have a roll call, please?
Henry Hale.
Yes.
Basil Forrest.
Here.
Roger Black.
Here.
Mary Ann Alexander.
Here.
Patrick Duhane.
Here.
Stephen Emhoff.
Here.
Alan Reese.
Here.
Brett Baker.
Here.
Matthew Bauer.
Here.
And can we have a motion that the meeting was advertised as required?
Motion?
And a second. And a roll call vote on that?
Henry Hale.
Yes.
Basil Forrest.
Yes.
Roger Black.
Yes.
Mary Ann Alexander.
Yes.
Patrick Duhane.
We would also like to have a motion that last month's minutes and waive the reading of those minutes.
Motion?
And a second.
Second.
And a roll call vote on that?
Henry Hale.
Yes.
Basil Forrest.
Abstain.
Roger Black.
Yes.
Mary Ann Alexander.
Yes.
Patrick Duhane.
Yep.
All right, then we can go to old business with Steven.
So, I'm gonna let Brett follow. Here we go. So the first. Old business is an extension of Appeal 2252, 2253, 2254, and 2255. We're going back to 2022 for Huddy Chrysler Jeep Dodge. Is Mr. Obius here representing? You representing him?
Yeah.
Okay. They're asking to extend the date another 12 months. You'd like to come up, front and center?
Good evening. Pretty short, simple. The Huddings looking to get an extension on their current variances. There's still the issues of the extension of the sewer district, the prohibited development in this area of the town. So that's where it is for moving forward. In addition, the Huddings have had some personal issues that I'm aware that have set them back a little bit. But really, we've been meeting with Chrysler D. Judge to move the project forward, but it hasn't been until actually about a week ago that the town, the city, and the state agreed for the extension of the sewer just for the county airport piece, and they only did the county airport piece. So Tom Miller Road and other areas are still up for debate. So, yeah, so nothing's changed in our application. All facts are still the same. There's been no change in the zoning requirement, so it's really just an extension so that we can.
And we don't need to do a public hearing on this, right? Board members have any questions?
So this is just waiting for the municipalities to decide whether the sewer is gonna be extended on time limit?
Basically, the state has issued a consent order on the city telling them they have to upgrade their sewer system. And the state has told the city that they are not allowed to expand the district or add any users of more than 2,500 gallons a day until they fix things. And the city has yet to comply with the requirements because the town drains into the city. That means this town cannot extend the sewer district or put any water users on until the city fixes it all. So it's a battle between the three of them.
All right, so, any board member like to make a motion to extend this for another 12 months? And is there any,
But this has been extended once already?
no,
No?
Yeah, good luck.
there
That was
was?
the issue we
Yeah.
just talked about, yeah.
So this is the thing that they have case law of extending something past two times of extension, you have case law. But once if a project has not substantially moved forward, then you have to reconsidering it. How many times does the board consider issuing an extension on a variance that hasn't moved forward?
Didn't we have that up in Katyville?
We did have that.
They never built even the third year, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, and we did give them an extension.
Yes. So it was up to the two. The third one we said, no, if you're not gonna build it, it's taken off the table. So that may be something you want to be duly noted.
Or,
Yeah, there was Cumberland had one too on
Yeah.
Sunnyside Drive. That we actually had them tear it down.
Okay. questions, comments?
Well, what are you saying? Are we not, if we approve it, would be going against,
No. If we approve it, and if nothing happens, he has to come back and reissue for all the existing variances again. So, that's all it is.
or
So hopefully get it done within a year's time.
Understood.
Okay?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But then we just need, okay. We just have more precedent on that. I think about extending continuations 3 times.
I think you said it was the third time this is going on, correct?
So what did it say?
So you look at case law of what the circumstances are surrounding the extension. There's, case law, and Matt can speak to this, there's case law, saying why you should not. If something just will not go forward for
Mhm.
financing for X, for Y, the whole Z, you have to have proof of what the extent of circumstances is that is pushing this variance to then continue to hang out and not be executed on.
So I think you're okay to grant the continuation this
Yeah.
time. I think I'd make it clear this is the last one that will be granted. And I think I'd make a finding of fact that there's an extenuating circumstance that the sewer holdup or the sewer issue is what's really holding us up. It's not like the applicant is sitting there with money ready to go and not doing it. So there's a lot, so to speak, out of their hands, which I think that's a factual finding you should make. But I think if you make it clear that this is the last one, at least they'll know next time they have to come with a new application, so they're not delayed them by coming to ask for continuance. I think if you do all those things, you're defensible this time.
Except the zoning laws gonna change, right? That's the risk that they.
That's the risk they take, yeah.
Okay.
All you have to say is that this is the last variance or extension that's going to be granted.
Put your hand on my head when you're talking. This is gonna be the last extension we're gonna put up for vote tonight, okay?
Due to the extenuating
All right.
circumstances.
Second,
I'll second.
and a show of hands on that, and a roll call vote.
Henry Hale.
Yes.
Boswell Forrest.
Yes.
Roger Black.
yes,
Mary Ann Alexander.
Yes.
Patrick Dugan.
Yes.
You're good.
Thank you.
Right.
Now we're on to new business.
New business. Well, still old, because of the fire. Yeah.
business for quite a while, those are all continuations.
Okay, so skip by, okay. For old business, this is just gonna be, they asked for another 30 days. This was appeal 2320 on 9 Point Cliff Drive. They asked for a 30-day continuation until October meeting due to being out of town on business.
So we will have a public hearing portion of this meeting. Is anybody here that would like to speak to this matter? Not seeing anybody, we will close the public hearing portion of the meeting.
Do you want me to read? We did have,
There was one letter, I think.
yes, one letter.
Read that into the record.
Yes, sir. This was, September 5th from, I'm gonna say this name probably incorrectly, but Rod,
Hammernick?
what is it?
Hammernick?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean,
Yes, Hammernick. Dear Mr. Einhoff, this is a reference to your notice received 28th of August 2024 of the Town of Plattsburgh Zoning Board meeting scheduled for the 10th September 2024 to consider appeal number 2320 concerning property at 9 Point Cliff Drive. The owner, Mr. Sepsi, is requesting a setbacks variance for a prefab shed. As the owners of nearby properties, we are adamantly opposing the granting of this variance. This is a residential area that is slowly becoming commercialized and degraded by the lack of adherence of zoning regulations. Homes were originally built to have been expanded on limited-sized lots, requiring any further additions to collide with zoning issues. We already now have a mini airport, mini hotel with attendants, additional traffic and parking issues at the end of Point Cliff that used to be nice wooded residential areas. While this is not Mr. Sepsi's issue, his variance request of a 50% change into the setback zoning regulations, just another change to the detriment of the neighborhood, especially to the properties immediately adjacent to 9 Point Cliff. Respectfully yours, Roger P. and Blanca? Cameron?
Yep.
That's the only additional information that we've received.
Next one?
Yeah, he's gonna grant it,
Oh, okay. Well, make the motion.
I make a motion, we grant.
No second.
Continue.
Continuance for 30 days, okay. Show of hands and a roll call vote.
Henry Hill.
Yes.
Boswell Forrest.
Yes.
Roger Black.
Yes.
Mary Ann Alexander.
Yes.
Patrick Dugan.
Yep.
Okay, old business, Field 2318, Mr. Yolandich, you guys like to come up front and center? They're asking for Cateville Auto Truck and Sales at 1933 Route 3, allowed to request to operate a car sales auto business which is not allowed in a neighborhood commercial district. Mr. Baker has all the overhead slides that were submitted to us and the information that we can go over first.
Here's an aerial view. This is the property located here on the corner of Gatto Road and Route 3. Our town park is over here in Cateville. There it is with the district, the NC district in light green. There's a closer view of the property. That's a picture from today. And this is a sketch plan provided by Mr. Yovanovich. Gentlemen, all yours.
Basically, the building originally was built as a garage. To do anything else there, permitted neighbor commercial, would probably require taking down the garage and starting over, taking down the current structure. Convenience store, out of most of the uses that could go on there, the only ones that really would be feasible would be a convenience store, gas station, and with the Dollar General next door now. That kind of wipes out any chance of the convenience store making it, and the tanks and pumps were removed in 2020. So we looked a little bit into that, and you're talking minimum $500,000 to just do the outside infrastructure for a gas station again. That's not anything to do with the inside of the building, which would need, to do that type of business, it would have to be pretty much all redone. Where with the cement block, the walls, the headers and all that stuff still existing from before. To put garage doors back in would make it fairly easy to convert that over to a repair center. And the general area, right across the road, on Gone Road to the right, building that, there was a auto sale unit here there, I think from 2005 to 2017, right around there. And he closed and moved out of the area. So there is a need in the area of Cateville for inspections, white repairs, emergency stuff like that. And that's pretty much it.
Could you guys identify yourself for the record?
I'm Matthew Yanulovich.
Brian Janualovich. That didn't go down to the county, huh? Because it's on the state road?
It could be on.
I'll just go to the gun.
I didn't see any, guess I missed it.
This one was,
2 months ago.
2 months
2
ago.
months.
Month and a half.
Yeah.
Month and a half.
I mean,
We already took care of that part of it.
all right. When you do the balancing test for the, too many papers, for a use variance, there are several items that you have to show the reason why things will not fit into that area. So you've come up with some of them right now. I don't have the total list. you have the total that's, yes.
I brought it. A lot of them, the size of the property,
Right.
take it out, and the location on the corner of Route 3 and Goddard Road, the county landfill is down Goddard Road. So that area does get a lot of truck traffic, tractor trailers, smaller trucks, dump trailers. So to do anything like residential there, it's not really the greatest area.
What is the actual size of that?
It's just an acre.
Just an acre?
Yeah.
Thank you, Brett. So when you look at some of the uses that you stated in your verbiage here was condominium, townhouse, agricultural ducts, not
Yeah.
there. I don't think it's something bigger, a golf course, recreation facility. Most likely does not have enough square footage there for that, and definitely not a hospital, so that's it, it's a animal hospital. Some of the other ones here, place of worship, financial institution, greenhouse, health and fitness center. What would you think about any of those uses on that property?
Well, the issue is we don't have any way to validate whether any of the business would be allowed because it wasn't marketed as such. I mean, all we're gonna do is go based on the people that are in front of us to determine whether another business would be allowed or be financially feasible.
No, but it goes by all the different functions that are allowed there.
Right, but what the applicant is supposed to show you is a lack of financial return. So what they're supposed to show you is if we converted this to a greenhouse,
Right.
costing X number of dollars, our financial return would be X over this many years, that's not plausible. I think what they're doing is sitting here and saying, we don't wanna do those things, we don't think they're gonna work. That's not competent financial information. So I think that the application, at least on that aspect, is significantly lacking in the information this board needs. It's just on the face of it, some of these other allowed uses are very plausible here on the face of it. You need to know why they couldn't turn this into the things you just listed, Mr. Gale. The last couple. What the financial cost would be to get into those businesses and then what the return, and it's not an immediate return. It's not like you're gonna invest a couple $100,000, get a return right away. It's a return to running a business down the road.
I'm trying to remember, there was one recently. We went through almost the same thing. I think of what it is now. Well, anyways, I'm gonna open the public hearing portion of the meeting up, and anybody here like to speak to this matter? And not seeing anybody raise a hand, we will close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and have to look at the process of showing the financial reasons why it won't work. I know you went through some of the items to say, to turn it back into a gas station, you gave us some of the physical, and
So more of that.
yeah.
We basically need more information, like Mr. Ayers said.
It's not just that, like, I'm just gonna,
No.
the open space, the green space, possible other variances. What we had here shown is that you're showing uses on DOT right of way. It doesn't show any of the other info, so is there other variances that are required? If you don't wanna go variance, then hey, we need to come back on another variance. There's several other things when you're trying to get not an allowed use on there, you wanna make sure that it actually fits on there. None of that was provided along with the dollars and cents.
That would come through the planning department.
Well, ideally it would come here because you don't wanna grant potentially a variance now and then have the applicant come back to you a couple months down the road and say, based on our site plan.
Right,
we're
I'm just
here for
saying,
more."
I mean, it's a chicken and egg situation, because they can't move ahead with the planning department without a use variance, but the planning department would end up looking at all that
There's
stuff.
a risk reward, so in order to do a development, you gotta show X, Y, and Z, so not all are guaranteed when you're asking for a non-allowed use. So you do gotta put your chicken or cart before the horse sometimes and say, this is everything we need. But the plan that you guys are looking at,
I don't have that, I don't know, we didn't get a copy of that.
all the above, like when it shows the one, if you can see it up there, DOT right of way, you have an entrance inside of there, there's open space, there's green space, where do you park the cars, where are the repairs going, where do people drop their cars off, what is all that? That's the stuff that the planning board flushes out, not us, but you guys would wanna know that info too, because it's the least amount of variances granted, if you entail two granting variance.
Right. So we're looking for more information. So we can get it tabled, or we actually should ask for a continuance so that you can get that information and tell us how long you think we need before you can get that information together.
Well, I guess I would just go through all the items and make sure they're not coming back 2, 3, 4 times. But as far as the marketing, I guess I don't understand how the property was supposedly marketed and there was nobody else interested in it because it's never been marketed. I mean, I live down the street, there's never been a for sale sign.
It was listed online
Yeah.
for,
Listen, on
Couple years.
commercial site.
LoopNet? Because I didn't see it on LoopNet
there,
either.
yeah, well, there's a letter from the.
Yeah, I was gonna say it had it 5 years,
Yeah.
so there's a letter in here
Mhm.
from the Realtor.
But there were, I mean, no visible signs anywhere, and no one would have ever known that place was for sale.
Yeah, I know there's a realtor that showed it a few times because the lot box was there.
Yeah, Donovan Real Estate Services.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, if you get a full marketability of it, if 90% of the people out there, other than somebody looking at a commercial site, because I didn't see it on LoopNet over the last number of years.
Commercial Edge.
But there's never been a sign on there for sale for anyone else who might have a use that is allowed to potentially say, oh, I would have, or could have put a, XYZ there.
60 days.
We could probably ask for 90 days just to actually go through it.
And as Steve had mentioned, a more detailed plan as far as what vehicles are going where now.
Which we went to the planning board, took the sketch plan, and they said before we went any further with that,
They wanted to have a variance.
do this.
But we don't know how many variances you might need.
Right.
If you're gonna be,
Right.
I would think going that.
So you'd have to do a what if, I guess.
Yeah.
If it was allowed, then do you meet all the other,
So in that situation, that could take more than 90 days, I mean, to
right?
state DOT and,
Well, it wouldn't be the DOT, I mean, that's not an issue.
well, the DOT, I know the planning board, and the county both said DOT, because of the way that corner's set up, there's no curbing or anything, it's all wide open.
Right.
So work with them, put green space, which that shows a little bit, but to work with the right of ways and,
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's not the law.
right, but that's what they said, is that you have to work with it'd actually be state DOT, because it's a state road there, state right of way, to see where they want the Dollar General next door, their actual property to get in there is through state DOT.
No, I know, but we're talking about green space, and you're talking about
Oh, yeah.
that DOT or.
Yeah, like green space is shown in the back, like that'd be on the very bottom of the picture,
Right.
that's over 30% there towards the neighbor behind, which would be the first house on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that sketch was done to get a sketch plan approval to start with something.
Could we get a copy of that?
Yeah, this is what we got. This is
I don't see a sketch.
Don's last one, maybe, or
It might have been the last one.
It was probably provided last
You guys
year.
have a sketch plan? I don't know.
But it might have come out.
Yeah, it was more than likely provided to all of you last month,
Yeah.
and you threw your packets away.
If I wasn't
And
here.
we didn't rerun everything for this month.
where you went.
So you're looking for a continuation then,
Yeah.
for how many days before you want to come back?
I guess I'd ask for 90 and then see how I'm doing, working on all the other bridges we have to cross.
And if they ask for a year, does it matter if they come back early?
Well, yeah, it would probably be better to do it that way.
Is that a problem?
It's just a problem when we have to publish it. So if we, like the last one, was the last one that we said that they were supposed to come back in 30 days, so we published it in 30.
Right.
But they're not, then they said, we already published it, we already put it in the paper, we already did everything
So
else.
they don't have to go apply, I mean, whatever,
We would
apply
have,
to
we would have
notify
to know,
you.
to know when to put it in the
Right.
paper legally, to
Mhm.
then have a public hearing.
Right.
That's the only
But
downfall.
they would have to notify, they'd have to get the information together.
30 days prior, or,
Yeah.
30 days prior to the meeting that they want to.
Yeah.
All of
Is it possible to withdraw the application? And it just, when we have it complete, put it all back in here.
Yeah, that's fine. We can do that. There's no decision been made, so that's.
So I'm better off doing it that way,
So-
not having a time for it.
So if you withdraw,
Yeah.
then you start all over again.
Right,
Okay, so
which at this point is
the
not,
new fee, everything else,
right, right.
but it's up to
Yeah, so
you.
If you
extension,
continue
you
it,
don't
then
pay
you don't
again.
have to pay the
You don't have to pay the fee if you continue.
Just probably don't continue for it. We ask for a year continuance, and 7 months in, I can give a 30-day.
just so that we get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll ask for a year.
You just have to publish it 30 days before you come forward.
Okay.
So, somebody's making a motion,
I'll make a motion to grant a 90-day, no, 1-year continuance.
1 year continuance,
Mhm.
okay? And a second on that?
Second.
And a show of hands, and then a roll call vote?
Henry Hill,
Yes.
Basil LaForse.
Yes.
Roger Black.
Yes.
Mary Ann Alexander.
Yes.
Patrick Dugan.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
This is another old business. This is a continuance from Appeal 2324, 2325, dated back to June 2024. That's a use variance and an area variance. You guys come up, sit right front and center. To refresh the memory of the board members and people in the audience, Brett is gonna go, if you can, go through all the details of where the two different variances, the area and the use variances, kind of go over both of them, then we'll start with the use variance.
So we have Champlain Park and Cumberland Head, this is Cumberland Head Road. The actual property where the home is located on 25 Genesee Lane is here. This adjacent field in the back has since been merged with the property of the home. There it is in the R3 district. You'll see here that this property and this property have been merged together. The proposed barn is to go out in the field. This is a picture of the home today. Farther down the lane on Genesee, there is a second access point to the property, which is pictured here. The applicant has provided some pictures for us to go over as well. This is a proposed picture of the barn. This is a site plot of the property here, along with the merged property. And then this is the proposed area where the barn would be put. Enlarged it so you can see a little bit better where it would be in relation to our town park and where it would be in relation to the homes. And then these are some other pictures provided. There you go, guys.
Thank you. Alright, hello, my name is Karen Benum, and this is my husband.
Thomas Holman.
And, we're here just to, basically, explain, our overview for it. It's only a 4-stall barn, that's it. And then, of course, they'll have storage as well for our tractors. We're one of the few properties, that actually, when it comes to the R3 district, in Champlain Park, there's only 2 properties that actually have acreage, which is, 4 Onondaga, Titteringtons, and ours. So we have a lot of equipment. Mind you, we moved here, 5 years ago. We ended up owning the property, probably, I think we've owned it now for 3 years? And we've been slowly making improvements to the house, internally, and we redid the roof. We wanna really start banging it out, as you saw from the photo, she needs some work, and we really wanna start doing that. But we've noticed, to help with some of the costs since COVID happened, we all know everything's increased. So if we were able to bring our horses home, I've owned them one of them for over 20 years. It would actually help us cut costs. I would be saving about $500 a month, bringing them home, being able to put that into our house. We love our community and where we live. We really wanna, we wanna stay here for the long haul. I've also, explained, the expense, just like upkeeping it as an oversized backyard. We needed to buy a new tractor. We were trying to do it with a small lawnmower and then a tow behind, from hitting garbage ending up in our property to, you know, just being not the proper equipment. We had to expand and get a bigger tractor, which we did, this year. We also spent about $700 between ethanol and diesel. That's only about 80% of the property. This year, due to us having to get a new tractor, we weren't able to fully mow as much as we normally do this year. I've always been making sure that I at least get the perimeter a couple of times. That's something that I prefer. Let's see. And like I said before, it's a kind of a unique property. There's only a few houses in Champlain Park with acreage. You know, I did attach photos, of Titterington's. You can see cows if you were to ride down, Saranac Drive, Seneca, that you can see cows within, right there. And I don't want any of that. I've actually vocalized at the previous one. I would be completely fine with a use variance, specifically for horses, no other animals, no other anything. I have provided, manure management. I do have a letter from Minor Institute as well. I'm not sure, okay. I've been in agriculture for a very long time. It's not my career is accounting, believe it. So it's just more of a passion of mine. So this is kind of an idea. This will be on the south side. So it would not be visible. I want to put shrubs on the other side of it, so like it would not be visible to the naked eye. Also that does help as well. Having manure management like this also prevents excessive runoff, or really kind of prevents a lot. I've also attached a lot of articles and research on vegetative buffers. My horses would not have full access to the property, and the big reason for that is to give us vegetative buffer. What that will do is to make sure no nitrates, no debris. It's, you know, like with a pond, you know, you have a lot of vegetation and that will kind of filter out the nitrates and stuff like that. It's kind of more of an extra security belt besides proper manure management. With the proper manure management, that's gonna kill parasites. It's, especially like with the one that I want, also doesn't make it accessible to critters. Cause as you fill up, you put down your wood, so it closes up eventually. And what happens is it retains the heat and will turn into compost, and then you have black gold right there. The other thing is that, I would be using is fly predator. Like I said, I'm a horse person, not, anything else type of person. So there's a thing called fly predator. You can spread it all throughout your property. You can even put it in the manure, and what it's really fascinating. It's these little larvae that basically they eat the fly larvae, so flies can't survive. And it's just the coolest thing ever to prevent any excess problems, because you know, I don't want to disturb my neighbors. I don't want to cause a ruckus. You know, that's why for the small building in the first place, I want to keep it very discreet and very minimalized. Same with the horse fencing that I would be putting up. Once again, it would not go throughout the entire property, and would be away from houses. I do not want my horses right up next door to houses, like the cows were. That is too close to me. Like no, they would be further away. And the fencing I chose here, I wanted to give a visual. This is very safe. Actually, that top railing is actually what Titterington's uses for his horses. He just has more. I don't want that, just in case as a climbing accessibility. So I like this because not only does it prevent, like, goodness, someone's dog were to get loose, it can't just instantly go underneath the fence. They can't do anything. It's like a protected barrier for my horses and everyone else outside it. And another reason I was picking more of a darker color, because from a distance, that doesn't stand out. Don't get me wrong, I love a classic white fence. But for discreet, I does is, it's gonna be lined with geocell. There are these grids. You fill them in with crushed stone and then you top them off with sand. The reason for doing that is prevent mud. Horses do not do well with mud. You know, no hoof, no horse. That is very valid. So in bad weather, they would not be going out, but they would still have their place to move around and have extra space. And on top of it, if they were to get sick, it kind of offers as if a hospital stall, because, you know, horses, they just love trying to do silly things. So it's kind of a good measure, and it also protects my passengers, because in rain or in weird spring months, you wouldn't want a bunch of mud. And, you know, nobody wants a bunch of mud. So this is where we would fight that. And I was gonna say the aesthetics, like, of the barn that we have chosen, I just showed a plain, basic brown barn, but I could get it with siding as well. We can have that completely vinyl siding, like, we have some ideas for the vinyl siding we want for our house. And so we could have it completely match that as well. We don't have to go with just all natural wood. I like the wood, but you know, if someone says, no, we prefer it to look this way, I would be more than fair to don't say that. I have some of the other attachments, that he has. I did attach a few, let's see, elevations too, to kind of explain the water flow of how the water flows on our property. It's kind of a interesting way. I was, in case anyone wants to see, so the barn would be up here, so it is higher above. Another reason why I'm being so strict with the manure, mind you, those aren't gonna be right on grass. Those bins are gonna be on, gravel, like the crushed stone that the foundation will be on it as well. And that, the foundation was, recommended by the owners of the barn for these types. So it wouldn't be directly on the ground, once again, another buffer preventing runoff. But if we have here, you can kind of see it kind of as a weird hill. Like, so really this is my biggest concern here for runoff. And the way that it works, if you were to look here, it doesn't show up, but there's actually like a culvert from the town, from the park, all the way here. And then it kind of switches over here. Okay. Yeah, the terrain view. And I'm using that kind of as my split for my horses to help also, once again, another buffer to prevent runoff, and to prevent anything going into the water or concentrating and bothering our neighbors. Is there the other aerial shot with the vegetation? I'm sorry. There.
The darker green lines there.
Yeah, there's, is that this Linda?
Yeah.
So, we have the park right here. You see these divots. They continue up and go all the way up here. You'll see that we even have another one right here for, irrigation. They've always been there. Trust me, I hate it with my tractor because I'll be like, yay. Kind of like a little bit of a brumped ditch. So those were put into place kind of as some guidance, which is, I mean, for this area over here, kind of helps as a good protectant. Like I said, that's why I'm using so many measures for manure management to prevent runoff. I've been doing this for, let's see, probably about close to 20 years, working with horses and barn management. I did it all throughout college, but you know, even though I was doing a different degree choice. I used to work at a barn up in Peru. probably about 15 years ago, managing 30+ horses. My goal is to avoid anything like that. That's how I know some of those other tricks to avoid flies or anything, because when you have a horse boarding facility, it's not like a normal farm. We don't want an excessive amount of flies. We don't want mosquitoes. We don't want any of this, especially with EEE going on right now. We want to avoid that. Sure, our horses are vaccinated, but right now it's on the rise in this area. I'm sure you guys have heard of it right now. So it's a real fear and a real concern. So we do a lot of things to protect and keep it at bay. And it's one of the things that, you know, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of cool. There's some science to it. You know, your manure pie kind of becomes like a little science experiment. So, in a good way, like you have to keep it at a certain temperature. Too hot, you'll start killing the good bacteria. Too low, you can actually start building the bad bacteria. It's actually kind of when it gets too wet, that's when you can have, you know, excessive smells and stuff like that. It starts getting a sour smell because it really should be an earthy smell. You know, if it's going right, it should be like black gold, you know, fertilizer. So the other thing is my pastures are not gonna be all the way out here. Another reason for that is I can't see them. I actually work from home. My office is actually in this back room right here, so I can keep an eye on them. Just kind of paranoid horse mom person. And really, so the barn would be going about right here, and the pasture would be following this. They don't need a lot of space. One of them's almost 30. She's actually insulin resistant. Grass can be a death sentence for her. I have a mini. Grass and minis just don't mix. They get fat off there. I'm not sure if you've ever gone to the fair and you see ponies and they look like they're little helium balloons and little legs. So, I do have a younger quarter horse. She is my daughter's 4-H horse, show horse, and my upcoming show horse, who they can be out, but guess what? They don't like to beat horses. They actually prefer being in the stall. Another reason why I had to make sure I had a decent barn is it is hot proof. Some of my horses are very bougie, and they like their space.
Okay. Board members have any questions they would like to ask?
I do, for clarification. So when you had the property, were you renting it at first, as you said you were here 5 years, and then you're going to 3 years?
So my dad had the house first, and we kind of
Okay.
went there to live with him to help him out
Mhm.
and such. And my mother had kind of started neglecting the field, and it wasn't getting mowed.
So you had the field as well, it was not purchased, it was part of that, or it's just
I
separate
had-
from it, you merged them?
Yeah, they were separate.
Okay.
I actually got the field first, and that was kind of, what was it, a year before the actual house?
I think so.
Cause I was helping my mom pay taxes beforehand, and then I was like, hey, I'm the one spending all this money on mowing and stuff like that, can you just give it to me? And she signed it over, we had her lawyer and everything, do the transfer. And then, we decided, we're like, wow, we really, with our child, cause my daughter was born in 2019, so that was also like before we moved there. And I was like, this is just too perfect. And we decided to stay. We started fixing up the house. Really started fixing up once it went to our name. But it's been getting slower and slower with the increases of prices, and I'm like, I just really wanna make her home a home,
So where are your horses now? They're not at your property, they're at,
a boarding facility.
okay, so that's 500 a month?
No, 12.
Okay.
$1,200 a month. For my I mean, that's, I don't know, I think it's cheaper than therapy at this point.
Okay, so that's what I had 500 a month, so I was just clarifying.
Just the same.
Yeah.
Estimate
Okay.
$700 a month to actually have that.
Right,
barn
for the
and
mowing and.
care for themselves.
Well, or like even like us getting the barn, like even with us taking out a loan for the barn, it's still gonna be cheaper than $1,200 a month. I mean, we can afford that, but it slows down the progress of our house, and the longer that we've been here, we're like, this is not moving as fast as originally we had anticipated. You know, we do, we love the area and we love our house, but I'm like, I really wanna get it finished and fixed up. We, you know, so this would help increase that process, like, you know, we eventually would love to do additions to the house, add a garage, I really wanna get the garage paid. So, we have all these plans and, you know, cause when we got once everything started rolling, that house had never been updated. That was original 1950, so we've been slowly chipping away and updating it. And, you know, now we wanna start getting to the outside.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just again for clarification purposes, you will be fencing in a portion of
Yes.
that property?
Yes,
And then you want a vegetation border outside the fence?
so the vegetated portion is really the, you know, the pre-existing field, I'll continue to mow it because mowing grass actually does help absorb water and everything. I wouldn't just let it sit, so it would still need to be maintained, but it would still be less than what I'm maintaining now. It's one of those, the further away that the manure is, especially towards the lake or low points, the more of a filtration it has. So I'm giving it a big wide belt to be filtered for. I don't, you know, I mean, my horses are, we don't want manure, we don't want smell. I'm sure if you guys ever took your kids to certain boarding or farms for riding lessons, you know, we're very picky about certain things. We're different than like if you were to go to a dairy farm. You know, clean and tidy, at least the barns that I've been at. You know, I'm not gonna lie, mine are spoiled me a bit. And they actually,
Also, how part of that vegetative barrier works because of those trenches there. Part of it is you're supposed to lead the water to plants that actually excessively will absorb that water that has those nutrients.
and those,
As you can see, those are all willow trees out there, which are pretty heavy absorbers. So it already does have a lot of natural setup barriers.
Anybody else? We will open up the public hearing portion of the meeting. Everything that was said last month has been into the record already. So if you have anything to say that's new, you can come up to the mic and state your name. And we ask you to keep it to 2 to 3 minutes worth of verbiage.
Hi, my name is Micheline Hull. I live at 419 Cumberland Head Road. My backyard butts up right up against theirs. They're showing those trenches of water that they say is running towards the lake and so on. That runs right through my backyard. And because my backyard is probably about here.
yeah,
This is her house. I'm about here.
No.
no. Here she's over.
It's confusing.
Oh, okay, yeah, right here. So, we spent a fortune on putting French drains in that house because we had the sump pump running for months in the spring, when we had rain, and so on and so forth. So we put French drains in that house and had everything flow through the basement, daylight at the ditch, and then run into the lake. If I got manure running through there, because you know, she says she's gonna put them in those bins or whatever. What happens when those bins are full? Where does it go?
Well,
You know, it doesn't matter, Karen. You know, I
And
mean, it's,
address the board.
right, so, likewise. So that's number one. She's claiming that it's gonna cost her a fortune for the animals. It can't cost that much to mow the lawn back there. It's not just to do the perimeter. Okay. And then when you say when she said she had that working at a barn in Peru, was that in a residential area? I doubt it. And, I don't know what else I have to say. I'm just totally against it. The flies are gonna be astronomical. She can put plants all she wants. That's not gonna stop the smell. It's not gonna stop flies. It's not gonna stop, you know, the quality of our life is totally gonna be deteriorated with animals back there. They tried it 15 years ago with pigs.
That wasn't me.
Karen.
She tried it,
As a-
somebody in that family tried it with pigs
I know.
15 years ago, and we're back at this again. So, you know, just the quality of life, I just want to sit in my backyard by my swimming pool and enjoy my backyard. And if I'm inundated with flies, EEE, you know, everything else, that's another concern, so.
Thank you.
And before the next person comes up, point of clarification, the audience has directed all their comments to the board, not to the applicant. Applicant will please remain quiet. If something wants to be followed up, the board will address you, okay?
Yes.
All right, next, please.
I'm Susan McGauley. My husband and I live at 425 Cumberland Avenue. We did write a letter last month. We are against this project. I just think that I don't want horses back there. I don't want to smell the same thing Michelin had said. And I think Plattsburgh Bay is polluted enough. It doesn't need anything more going into it.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Cross. I live 4 houses down from Karen. I have known the family for over 40 years. My grandparents were my neighbors until I died. And, I mean, I'm glad that she mentioned a couple of things. One, when Roger, her grandfather was alive, he was always complaining to me about the houses over there throwing their garbage, limbs, trash into their yard. And I haven't been over there since Roger died, but I would bet you there's a lot of stuff over there that shouldn't be on their property. And I am all for it. I wouldn't care if they put the horse barn down in front of my house. I enjoy having a field out there. And horses are not cows. They are clean animals. And there's already one horse farm that is on one side of Cumberland Head or on Champlain Park. Another one's not gonna hurt. I'm all for it.
Thank you.
Bill Plimpton, I live at 415 Cumberland Head Road, which is actually right here, just off the street. This is the one side of that entrance. I submitted a packet last month. I do have some new information after sitting here. I don't think she met any of the requirements tonight in her presentation. About a reasonable return, hardship, altering the essential character of the neighborhood. The hardship wasn't self-created. As stated, she's lived with the property 3 to 5 years, plenty of time to research the zoning laws. This is under 3 that we're talking about. All 4 of those have to be proven in order to get the variance approved. I don't think she demonstrated any of those tonight. Talking about the value, few people understand that. We keep hearing 4 on and dog, 4 on and dog, and 1 other property, which I'm assuming is the Pellerin property, the old BC well drilling, old Bill Colbert, having property. R3, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have 5 acres, 50 acres, 500 acres. Farm animals are not permitted. This is a dense neighborhood. Houses are closer. Take advantage of the water and sewer. 4 on the Dog was never part of Champlain Park. That was part of the old Cook Farm. the old Trudeau, Lapeer farm that stretched from Cumberland Head Road to Cumberland Head Road. The whole reason houses weren't put in there was because of the sewer system in Champlain Park not being able to handle the houses that they want to put in there. That's when Tenderton went in. He's pre-existing, he's grandfathered in. There were no horses there today, he'd be here trying to do the same thing. Same with Colburn, if he was still alive and wanted to run the business, he'd be here trying to get a variance. Can you go back to the one picture of Seneca? So, the town knows there's water issues there. The simple fact is, the property in question is 139 feet above sea level. I'm 109. Runs right through me, right to the lake. Here's a berm that the town built to stop water from coming here out of one Seneca, out of the field, into this gentleman's basement. The town put this in. If you go back to the Eagle view, that's the old McDonough farm. There is a ditch there. That's the old McDonough farm. There's nothing from there all the way down to the straits until you get to the new blue salt box. The Champy sign, the little park, there's nothing there. This is always wet. Everest Park, Everest Avenue Park is right there. This is new. If you want to just pass it down. It's the park, which the playground was now moved to the far end. That was one storm in August. And then the little river you see is what's leading from here to here. The town moved the playground part of the park over by the tennis courts because there was always standing water there. So, I mean, it sounds nice, it sounds good, but this is an R3 district where horses, or I'm sorry, farm animals not permitted. The 4 requirements that Ms. Bonham needs to meet, I don't think she met them at all. This is a bad idea, and I'm against it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just so you know, Mr. Plimpton, they did get your letter, so we will dispense from reading in the letter. They did get it. It's on record, it's on file. Same with,
McGowan?
yes. So
I
because
sent
you
a letter
spoke,
too.
Same with the original.
yeah, so because you spoke, they're on there. They did get copies of it because you spoke. We put on there, attended the meeting, and spoke. So it's not like they didn't get your stuff.
Oh, one other thing, I'm sorry. You know, the uniqueness stuff. I'm an R3, I have property, I can't put horses on. It's not unique to them. 4 on the docket does not apply, tolerance doesn't apply, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 acres. It's an R3 district. The town spent all that money having that company come up and do the zoning laws. It's a dense area. It's a bad idea.
Anybody else like to speak to this matter?
Angela Constanti, I'm a neighbor at 18 Genesee Lane. I'm all for it, honestly. It used to be agriculture. I don't see any issues with it. She's taking proper management for it. I'm an animal lover, so, you know, I think I'm all for it, 100%.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
I'm Clayton Ray, I live at 423 Cumberland Head Road. Next to my neighbors, Michelin, Bell, Little Gullies. And I question she's the looking for variance due to hardship. And I say, if you take on a responsibility of horses, it's hard to imagine that you can claim it as a hardship. If that's where we're going with that. And I've heard her say, I just want to bring my horses home. she's lived there for 4 years, 5 years, but the horses have never lived there. It, in truth, has never been the horses' home. And I would just, those points, I'm not in favor, I, like Bill, and downhill of the plan.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing anybody, we'll close the public hearing.
Yeah, we still have, 3 letters.
Okay.
3 letters that are new letters, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. One was from, to Donna Premiano Maston, from Karen LaSalle. Hello, so is the email with a letter of support from, she is Karen LaSalle, a equine manager for Miners Institute Shazy. I came to know Karen Boheim as a summer experience in equine management student from May to August of 2017. She is an accounting major at SUNY Plattsburgh and not a typical student in that respect, but her dedication to proper horse husbandry stood out the year in a pool of qualified applicants. Following her summer internship, Karen worked part-time for Minor Institute for many years. I knew that she was on the schedule to work in the barns at the horses' stables in capable hands. Karen has remained a friend and a client of Minor Institute over the years and is a contributing member of the equine community at large in the North Country. Karen's work ethic is excellent. Her pursuit of not only great care of horses, but the environment they live in was second to none. If Karen did not know exactly how to handle the situation, she would do her own research to offer input and suggestions to what she thought might be done. The barn always looked even better than I left it when Karen had a work shift. Her attention to detail is keen. I know she has utilized resources such as myself, veterinarians, and other reputable stable owners. In Minor Institute, extensive library holdings in connections with UVM, Cornell Cooperative, to continually educate herself on best management practices for horses and the land they live on. If I can be of further assistance, please do not hesitate to contact me at lasalle@whminor.com or by my cell phone. Best regards, Karen LaSalle, City Manager.
I'll read the next one. It's from Michelle Rose, R-O-E-S. Says, good afternoon. I'm writing today to express my support for Karen Bonhomme, Appeals 2324 and 2325 on tonight's meeting agenda. My family and I reside in 21 Genesee Lane, 2 houses down the road from Karen Bonhomme. As being a direct neighbor, my husband and I do not have any concerns regarding the proposed project and feel it would have no direct impact on our property. Based on the proposed location of the structure on Karen's property, I believe there are only about 4 or 5 properties that will actually be able to view the horse barn from their yards, all of which have no complaints or reservations to my knowledge about Karen moving forward with this project. From my relations with Karen Bonhomme, I believe that she will be responsible with this project and her horses. We have been assured by Karen that there are no safety concerns and the horses will be properly contained and maintained. I do not believe the barn structure will detract from the property value of our home, Karen's home, or any other properties in this area. I truly believe my children will enjoy being able to see the horses from our backyard. There is another horse farm adjacent to Champlain Park located off of Onondaga Lane, a few streets over from our home. This project is a much larger scale than what Karen Bonhomme was requesting. To my knowledge, there have been no complaints or issues, and it has not negatively impacted our area. Therefore, I do not see any reason why Karen should not be allowed to continue with her proposed project. If you have any questions, you may contact me via email or by phone at, and I'm not going to read her phone number, sincerely, Michelle Rose.
September 3rd, this was submitted by 443 Cumberland Head Road.
Oh, yes, I'm here, actually. I am here.
Would you like me to read it, or would you?
Well, I can
address
address it. I can stand up and.
Whatever you would
yeah,
like. You can read it in. Some people don't like to.
I don't mind.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'll just,
Better your voice than mine.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Mary Ann Kirby. I live at 443 Cumberland Head Road. And I have some concerns, Karen has addressed. My property, the topography, I'm lower than her property. And there's a significant, for me, there's a significant amount of ponding that concerns me on Karen's property. With the triple E virus is now the thing. But prior to that, it drains into my property. When there's runoff, it runs from the ponding on Karen's property into my backyard, through my backyard, where there's erosion there and I can't grow grass. I'm concerned about the phosphorus and the nitrogen. I understand her plan for handling the waste. Doing some homework. Horses need, according to what I read, an acre to graze. Overgrazing can cause more erosion and killing of the vegetation, which results in more runoff of the phosphorus and the nitrogen and, the stuff that we don't want running off into our properties and subsequently goes into Lake Champlain. And it's an R3 district. I happen to love horses. However, it's zoned residential. So I really, I understand what she wants to do. However, I can't get on board with the project. I'm sorry.
All right, we can close the public hearing portion of the meeting then. We read everything into the record, correct?
Yes.
Board members?
For the record, could you just highlight the reason why it's not allowed if it is allowed to have agricultural based on urban zoning? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I see that. Unless I'm reading it wrong, it says agricultural use is permitted. Am I reading it wrong? Well, it says permitted agricultural use. Unless I got an outdated piece of paper.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the conflict is here, but I'm conflicted as to what we're saying is not allowed, if it is allowed, and just want to clarify that for the meeting.
Pardon me? It's allowed in R3.
Why is it here?
Use in an area. So,
Well, I mean, the use, it says it's allowed.
Agricultural.
Right, and if you read agriculture, it's pretty clear, it seems to say that it's allowed. Go back to the definition, but agricultural use is the use of any land for agricultural purposes, including farming, dairying, pasturing, horticulture, floriculture, viticulture, and animal and poultry husbandry, including construction, alterations, maintenance of agricultural roads, agricultural drainage systems, and farm ponds. An agricultural use is commonly referred to as agriculture. So I don't know, one, if there's more we've got to read into this that leaves an ambiguity of the law, which has to go towards the applicant and not us, which is
So,
what am I missing?
agricultural use may be allowed. The agricultural type of use they want to do is not in R3.
Where does it say that?
So if you look under supplemental regulations where it states what zoning districts you can have certain animals and stuff, R3 is not listed, therefore they can't have any farm animals.
Where is it?
supplemental uses. First, you go to, so it
Page
says subject to site plan review. That's why
51.
That's why they're in front of the planning board. We'll try to connect the dots for you. If you look under
I'm trying to listen to Alan and I
Page
can't.
51, bottom
Sorry.
page, or from the middle of the page down.
Mhm.
So it says, within these districts, these certain farm animals are allowed. So in other words, agricultural use, if you want to farm that land, no problem, you wouldn't be here tonight. But if you want to raise animals on that land, you now have to follow the supplemental guide, which
Well,
tells
it
you
seems
how
like
many
that's a
animals you
conflict
can
to
have.
me, Alan, because the agricultural definition says husbandry and so forth, and now we've got a conflict of two items in our codes that says it's allowed but not allowed.
That's your interpretation. Mine was it's in front of the board, so the supplemental, the way that we've treated it is you go from here, it goes through site plan goes to here, it goes from the primary one, what Alan just said, then it goes to the accessory uses. And then that's the way that this is interpreted, and that's why it's in front of us. In front of you guys, if you disagree with that.
Mhm.
That's.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand where the conflict comes from, because I'm conflicted with the definition.
That's where it came in, when Susie said she wanted to
You're
raise
saying that
horses
it's
there,
because of this.
it then triggered this.
My
Because-
concern is the definition of agriculture says what it says. It doesn't say and then refer to or then, and it doesn't say in here, it doesn't say, it just says agricultural use is allowed. I got a problem with the conflict of the two. It's not clear, and then the reading goes to the opposite. So. No.
Did you go right
I
to
thought-
D, do you read right into D where it says where it's strictly prohibited?
I'm going to,
D where it says strictly, if you go to agricultural D, and I'll walk you through it, agricultural uses. So you go to the allowed table, which is R3, then you go to 50, which is 5.10 agricultural uses.
Mhm.
Then you read down, because you can't skip through, so then you gotta hit every single one. Then if you go to D, within A1, A2, NC,
I'm not arguing, I'm
R1.
just looking for clarification, Steve.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to walk you from here, so then you go to uses, then you have to go to agricultural uses. So you go back through here, and I just raised my voice like it was Alan, and I shouldn't have. I'm gonna bring my tone and tonality down, I apologize for that. Alan's got a deeper voice than me sometimes. So then you go to agricultural uses, 510, then you go to A, then you have to go all the way B, C, D, E, all the way through there, then it gives the definitions of what you can do in each district. Or each one's a subclause, so you can't just skip over one, you gotta go through it. So then if you go to D, it says, unless otherwise allowed, the terms of the district, keeping of large and small farm animals is prohibited, except if the prohibition does not apply to keeping of fiber fur-bearing animals. So that's when we have the definition of large and small and fur-bearing. That's how deep, as Bill said, that we have to go this far deep into consultants to make sure that we truly address where our farm animals are and where they're not allowed into denser districts. So this was the consultant of this is the way that you regulate farm animals when, where you can, large and small. So it's clearly defined in here, in my opinion, of agricultural uses, and then each district, what you can and can't have, and even the district of how, or even the distance where manure can be stored 100 feet. No roosters, guineas, fowls, things that in a higher dense district you don't want, that's conflicting of zoning. So they have some good points, but they're right out of our ordinance. Like this is, so if you have a question that I just didn't answer on how you get from a use table to the agricultural use, that's how we go from the table in the back to the actual definitions and restrictions in there.
So that's how we determine that, but as a board, if you guys determine it differently, that's what you're looking for. So if you don't agree with the way we came to this determination, you're the board, you have to discuss it yourselves and say, well, it's a different way.
Why isn't it just clear? So we can understand.
It's government, nothing's clear.
Yeah, the ambiguity goes to the applicant.
Now you're
Be
dealing
careful
with
what
all
you're
these
saying.
people.
That's all.
You're trying to
Because
do
if
the
it
right
is
thing.
ambiguous, then it goes to the applicant and not us.
Well, you clearly go to, that's how we do it though, you go in the back and you read each section in the district has the definition of what's allowed and what's not allowed. All the way down to design guidelines, even though it's allowed, you still have to build it by the design guidelines, which we have several other ones. This is a design guideline, if you will, for agricultural uses. It's the same thing. So it's an allowed, like, hunting Nissan's allowed, but in that district, it's a design guideline, so they're asking for variance. So it's an allowed use, but inside of that allowed use, and it's subject to site plan review, and then it has all the regulations that go along with it. Just not for agriculture uses, R1, R2, R3, neighborhood, commercial, there's allowed uses inside of commercial, but there's design
But
guidelines.
yet Alan
to
said
sources.
that they can farm.
But you gotta show how there's different ways to
But
farm.
you know what I'm saying, it's a confusing matter right now.
So you can farm it, but this is,
Yeah.
so if you wanna,
So
another way
like,
to
I
actually
can go
look at
and
it,
plow the land up and
you don't
everything.
look
and
at
put
it as
nitrates
agricultural
down.
use thing, you look at it as a farm animal use. So it's a subcategory of agricultural, as farm animals, and that's what they're here asking to be granted. I'd like to have farm animals in this agricultural use area.
But the way I read it, what they could do if they want is plow it, till it, plant all kinds of vegetables, and spread manure 3 times a year.
Sure.
All over this.
And that way I get to say,
Yeah, and then you got manure, and then you got all the manure that you
Manure
have.
running off.
Because it's not right, well, it's not.
That is not a regulated use for their agriculture.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to do any of these uses, the animals are regulated, not the agriculture use of a Giroux or anybody else. They can go till it, they can plant corn in there, because that's not clearly regulated here. Farm animals are,
They could put liquid in corn in.
all day. But once you have animals and asking for the animals, what they do, then you fall under agricultural uses. So their uses inside the agricultural as per R3. And it's also regulated under site plan for barns, because then the site plan that they're in front of the planning board are gonna make sure that all these adhere to. So when that site plan then kicked us back to us, saying it's not an allowed use, what they're asking for. Same like with Yolanovich, it's no different than the one that just left. It's not an allowed use, they're asking for a variance for car sales or.
Yeah, but it's not listed in the cases, just didn't lead me to that.
Yes, the first one's on it, the second one, this one, third one. 3 acres for the first, 2 acres for the second.
That's just 1.4. So another 4.4.
I mean, you look at the balancing test,
13 acres.
you're talking about not realizing the
First turn, 1, the other 10's.
And to a certain extent, it's not applicable.
You gotta move, gotta hit more.
Financial reconciliation, I haven't said anything a couple of times. Village hardship is made, it's not a district or neighborhood.
Then we have 13 acres.
And it's just neighbors of the area. Very substantial.
Yeah.
And requested variance will not alter or assess the character of the regulation.
No,
So no big field.
It is a lot of contract.
you don't see an R1 on here, either, do you?
Any of that hardship has not been set. The other thing we have to do is a secret first, right?
You have to go that far?
Yeah. We would have to go through the secret first, right?
Yes.
Short form right here, it was filled out. So we can go from. There we go. Forms all you got. So this is the short form that was filled out. So we're gonna do the impact right here. So the short, you guys did have a short form. So we're gonna do part 2.
So that would be for the building,
I'll read the questions, and then you guys can discuss and tell us your answers.
but if we deny the first one, are we listening, are we going to?
We have to have the secret first before we can do the
Use.
That's what.
use variance.
The use is first.
The use is, okay.
So this secret pertains only to the use variance. Okay. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? No or small impact or moderate to large impact?
Well, yeah, right? Isn't that why we're here?
That is correct.
I had one gentleman saying no to small, and I have another one saying large, so.
So you take the big bucks?
So as a board, how do you feel on that one? What's your level?
Read the
I've
question.
already made my statement.
Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
It does.
The
question is,
proposed-
is it small or is it large?
The proposed action is the barn, not the horses.
This, I thought we had to do.
Oh, the proposed action is the horses, not the barn, so that's the question to consider.
Right.
I don't think it's large.
I don't think it's large.
Mary Ann?
It's small, but I don't think it's large, you got a barn.
But
door.
none too small. And then,
Yeah, I'd go medium to.
we're going notice on,
No small amount? Mark. 2, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No to small impact or moderate to large impact?
I'm noticing 3 acres over 13,
Yeah, it's a small use.
but we're talking about the whole land, right?
Yep.
The whole 13, well, is it, it's merged, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's the whole property.
small,
Okay. So I'm marking small, or no to small. 3, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No to small impact, moderate to large impact?
Large.
Small.
Please.
100% small.
Small, I'd say small.
I'm leaning towards large.
I think large is the medium to large.
Okay, we got 3 large.
Okay.
I want fries with that.
So
Go on the record.
proposed action will impair the quality of the existing community. So anything that's moderate to large, you need to explain why, we need to write it down on the back of the form.
Because then it triggers a part 3 determination.
So for every question in part 2 that was answered moderate to large, or if there is a need to explain why a particular element of the proposed action may or will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact, please complete part 3. Part 3 should in sufficient detail identify the impact, including any measures or design elements that have been included by the project sponsor to avoid or reduce impacts. Part 3 should also explain how the lead agency determined that the impact may or will not be significant. Each potential impact should be assessed considering its setting, probability of occurring, duration, irreversibility, geographic scope and magnitude. Also consider the potential for short-term, long-term, and cumulative impacts. If you're saying there will be a moderate to large impact, for the question, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? You need to explain why.
My thought process on that one was just simply because of manure and runoff and affecting, and the from there.
Then you need to explain any measures or design elements that have been included by the project sponsor to avoid or reduce those impacts.
She has the manure, containment system.
So I'm writing manure runoff, and what was the other one?
So, Mr. Hale,
Vegetative buffer.
you're saying it's a large impact, what you're saying is, her proposed manure management, you don't feel will work the way she says it is.
I thought it was explained.
Well,
Now they're gonna
right.
divert that.
Right, but so if you're saying moderate to large impact, what you're saying is you believe there's this impact, the project has proposed to do certain things to lessen the impact, but you don't believe what the project is proposing is gonna lessen the impact of that.
But
Well, I don't see how we're experts in that. I really don't.
we're not.
Well, that's why they're asking, if you say it's large, explain to us why you feel it's large.
You can't feel.
And
I've been told by attorneys.
explain why you think it's large, and then you have to explain why you think the proposed measures from the applicant will not reduce that impact.
Well, I don't know if they will or won't. So, you know, what am I supposed to say?
Small,
You know, it's
well, small, medium, right? It's medium, not large.
Well, it's none too small, moderate to large. And I'm not, I guess I'm looking at the moderate impact it's gonna have. That's just,
Right, but, I mean, you're giving yourself, there's 3 of you that vote that way. 2 other people need to speak up. Why do you feel it? You gotta explain why you feel it's large, opposed to small to none. There's gotta be a
The thing
reason.
is, we don't have any evidentiary data to say otherwise. And to do so, we were feeling based on hypotheticals and not facts. So I have a problem with that, but.
I would rather have somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, but we're talking hypothetical either way. Somebody'd have to do a study to say that any impact of the question is gonna run from this end of the property and run 13 acres, whatever that distance is,
Yeah.
through the grass and everything else, and it's gonna end up somewhere. And I don't know that anywhere.
Or you can say, you think will mitigate that. So if you think that system doesn't work, if you feel better if she did something like, 100 feet from her fence line, which is probably still 300 feet from the back of their houses, you know, there needs to be a 1-foot ditch that runs all the way across there, it's gonna stop anything from going down their houses, manure and everything else, and it's gonna go someplace else. You can suggest that. That's how you mitigate. If she does something like that, then it wouldn't be a large.
I still think that's beyond our expertise.
I don't disagree. But there is, if there's a question saying that all manure must be brought off-site, that could be a simple thing, that no manure is stored on-site, it's all brought off-site. If that's so to take it from that impact that wasn't done, a solution to the problem, why it's major, and you were correct, and you can say exactly what you did. I don't feel comfortable with being an expert at manure management, storage, removal.
Then you wouldn't be able to dictate how it gets handled, because then you'd be making an assumption that you know that that's gonna handle it better than not.
You don't know what this is.
That's right, but we don't know, there's nothing here evidentiary showing later.
So I'm curious, are those containment systems out in the open where rain comes down on them and it just
No,
seeps out
they'll
the
be
bottom?
covered. I'm gonna, usually you do put a tarp cover on them, you can build a top cover for them, I'm doing that. I'm completely enclosed in it.
Mm-hmm.
That was my whole reason why I like the bar system, because I wanna make sure nothing is coming out. And if the nitrates are, let's say it does get a little damp, and the nitrates do somehow manage, that's where that vegetative buffer comes in, to absorb the nitrates and phosphorus. And that was kind of my big thing for what I'm planning on doing. I figured this two-pot process and, you know, regular field management, that's another reason why for the paddocks, they're gonna be on geogrids with the sand, because that will be picked regularly. Like, and then of course they go out for pasture for their normal grazing.
I guess my
So how-
statement would be is that they don't always control where they
Oh, yeah.
discharge.
Yeah.
So
No,
how many pounds a day do you figure you get?
it's 50 for full-size horse a day. That's not including like bedding. I'm planning, like, if this were to go through, I want to install a system and sounds like it's a mattress that you put in the stall. It allows you, to use less bedding. Less bedding that I have is also less manure. At least I should say for my own system, my own composting. The less I have to compost, the quicker I can compost it.
Public hearing's over.
Just a question, since new information is being given, is it rebuttable by the public?
No. The public is to give their comment, how they feel, not to question back and forth with the applicant or the board. So you gave your feelings to them, they can discuss, you're here to listen to hear what they have to say. Your question, they can answer as they talk, but not for you to ask a question.
I just thought because new information is coming up.
You know what, as a side note, look for volunteers to be on the board.
Yes, we are.
Volunteer.
More than happy to have you on board.
Okay, thank you.
Did I get over this question?
Well, I've given my response. Roger doesn't have the
And we can
technical
say,
expertise.
we can put each one, no response, or if Mary Ann has one, we can put that, no response is a response.
Well,
Or
I will
feeling
just
not-
say that if it's a covered system, with the climate change and the rains we're having, if it's a covered system, you're a lot better off than having 3 trays open and having all of that
Right.
leach down, so
Yeah, the middle
that would
one
mitigate a lot.
does show closed system, but I can also, if you guys were to want it even greater, you name it, I'll do it for that.
I don't have the expertise. Not here.
So are you changing to, all the? No, I mean, Mary.
If it's covered, in other words, if it was sheltered, not just with a tarp, but if it was actually covered where rain could not access any of that, because a drying process, when you're dealing with any kind of manure, is a lot better than having some slime build up, and that's when you're gonna have a problem.
You only let it once it gets too hot. If it gets too hot, you have to add water because otherwise you start killing too much bacteria.
Mhm.
So occasionally you gotta sprinkle it, but I completely agree with that, and I think I've covered, I'll do that.
So is the choice of the board to move to no to small impact on the condition that if this is approved, the manure management system needs to be completely enclosed and covered? Or do you-
That's what we're gonna say, that's what's
Yeah.
And again, this is for the seeker, this isn't even the balancing.
Right, right. And I'm just looking at it saying that this is just going through their duty where they're
Yeah,
going
but you
to be,
clean up after it.
you know, you're gonna put it out in the tenders, but you don't even know it.
Yeah, but if you're looking at your property and it's, how many horses? 1, 2?
Four.
There's 4, but one's a mini, the other one's older, she's, honestly, I sometimes wonder if she will be joining us.
But if you do your diligence and it's cleaned
Yeah.
every day or whatever, you
That's
could.
all, that's-
Yeah, you can get an attachment for the 4-wheeler, you drive it around, and it cleans up your pastures. It's really cool, I haven't looked into one, just 'cause I don't like to swear, but, sorry.
So what we did is, we left it as a moderate to large, but the mitigation for that would be, as Mary Ann said, it needs to be covered. So it has to have some kind of cover where rain doesn't fall straight into it. That's what we wrote on the back.
Okay.
So basically, you're making conditions of approval, even though you still feel it was a large concern.
Next question.
One moment, Mr. Chairman, I actually have to stop our video and start a new one because of the time that's elapsed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to take this chair, I'd like to.
Stay right there.
Who's sitting there? I didn't look through there.
Wrong slide.
I know.
And next question.
Number 4, will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
I don't think we have it.
We have none.
Once it's built, that's not there.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy that fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
And will the proposed action impact existing A, public, private water supplies?
No, well,
There's
So
no
we're not
wells
talking,
in
we're not
that.
talking about storm runoff, we're talking about water supply,
yes.
the drinking water.
Well, I'm just saying,
The
if
town
there's
features.
wells in that area, that wouldn't, there is none, correct?
No.
Down what, right?
So
D to that question, will the proposed action impact existing public-private wastewater treatment utilities? Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, for example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna?
Are there any?
Oh, yeah. All over the place.
It's already there.
Yeah, you know, it's
Yeah.
really rainwater, it's not, that wouldn't be a change.
No, it's not for one, we talked about having open grasslands to areas that have contaminants in it, or alternative fertilizer someplace, hopefully.
Could you read the question again?
Sure.
I
Will the
disagree.
proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, for example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna?
Oh, no, I don't just, well, you're just gonna have some runoff going down into the Lake Champlain, into people's backyards.
How do you know?
Yeah, it's gonna go down there.
You're assuming everything's liquid.
Yeah, and
Well,
Like it doesn't go into the ground, the ground isn't enough to absorb what's there, right? That's the assumption. but we don't have any evidentiary facts.
And it's not gonna change, I mean, the rain still
The
is
rain's
gonna
still
go.
gonna fall, yes. So we're looking at no to small.
Okay.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
I don't see it.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
Well, if we assume that the manure is being taken care of, then no.
Based on what's been proposed, right?
Yeah.
It's not what's been proposed, it's no to small. That is part two.
So with all that, we could declare a negative declaration for the secret.
Based off your elimination of your one large item, yes.
So we need a motion on that.
I make a motion that we declare a negative secret.
Second.
And show of hands and roll call vote.
Henry Hale,
Yes.
Basil DeForest.
Yes.
Roger Black,
Yes,
Mary Ann Alexandra,
Yes.
and Patrick Duhane.
Yep.
So there's the seeker, so now you go back to the balancing text.
Wait for that.
Just quit, just trying to keep doing it.
All right, now we're into the realizing reasonable return on, the problem and substantial as shown by competent financial evidence. I heard you're our finance guy, go for it.
Oh, now I am.
Yeah.
When I argue against it, I'm not. None's been provided.
Yeah. Which would mean that there's no reason to go forward.
That's your call, Mom.
Well, if you deny the first one, then that's it.
I'm just one of five. Everybody would have to agree to that statement.
yeah, I agree.
Mary Ann agreed. Everybody agrees that we don't get past the first one.
So the issue is you can ask for postponement because you have to meet those balancing tests and you've gotta show us that we have to have reasonable evidence that there's no reasonable return that you can get out of that land
Okay.
by doing what you wanna do that's not an allowed use. And you haven't provided us with anything to show financial hardship for the project.
For all the things that would be allowed there, so like
It's on
you could
here.
subdivide that.
Subdivide it or use it for
Well, you'd have to meet these four, you'd have to
Okay.
meet these things
Yeah.
and look them over, so if you want time to do that, we can ask for a postponement, a continuance.
But there's still also 3 other questions that have to be answered.
That's what I just told her.
Yeah.
But he's saying that we don't have to go forward because the first one didn't go.
The
Right.
first one.
No.
So, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you want a continuance, you can look at those 4 things and see if you can provide us with something. It's not guaranteed that it's gonna be approved either way, but right now we don't have it, so we couldn't approve it.
Alright, we'll postpone, and just basically show all the uses I can right now.
You'd have, well, yeah, you'd have to go by this.
Yeah.
It should have been in your packet.
It's in your application.
That's in your application.
There's
Be the
questions
same.
there.
Yeah, alright, so.
You're asking Sean Stacy, you're asking the table.
You know
Okay,
how
not
long
a
you
good
want.
one, yeah.
Well, continuance or tables, isn't it?
And just we're on clearance, that's for appeal 2324, and that's just for the agricultural use, because we have 2. So the other one is also just the barn.
So
Or,
are
we
not
wouldn't even say it's
become-
barn, accessory structure.
Right.
Sorry.
Accessory structure.
And, I mean, until you get the use variance.
Or that would be up to her.
So, so this is where she's at, right?
Yeah.
So an accessory structure is only an area variance because of the size of it. If she decides, if I don't get the use, and I don't bring my horses here, I'd still like to have this big barn to store my stuff in. She can continue on with that variance tonight.
Right.
Or
Structure,
if she
not
says,
barn, structure.
okay, sorry, accessory structure.
She might not want it that
But
size.
if she doesn't-
Then wouldn't need a variance. Right.
Yeah.
How do you want to proceed on your second request with the structure?
Table both of them.
I think I would,
Well-
postpone both just to be safe and figure something out from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so reasonable return, so am I gonna be comparing like if I can go put crops out there versus
Yeah,
like
whatever
whatever
use
is
is allowed in our
Okay.
Or
area.
show why those would.
You gotta go through every single use that's
So
allowed
you
use and go through there,
single family out there,
and do a
you do
financial.
two-family out there, accessory uses, agricultural uses, daycare centers, this goes on.
Okay, alright.
And how long would you like it to continue until?
I don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're gonna want at least 60 days
Yeah,
because
that's what I was thinking, 60.
we'd have to have the information next week
Yeah.
or next month. So,
Okay, so maybe 90, if that's.
So for the continuation, then take away after 90 days.
Make a motion that we continue or table the
These
appeal.
two variances.
Both.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Well, I'm doing one at a time, I guess.
We got a motion down there, Mary Ann. And we got a second.
For the second one or the first one?
Second.
The second.
So continuance for 90 days.
also motion the first one.
Let's just do the first. She needs a marker for the first.
Right.
First.
Okay.
You
Also made the
I made the motion to
Need a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
reuse.
Okay, show of hands, and roll call vote.
Henry Hale,
Yes.
Basil LaFors.
Yes.
Roger Black,
Yes.
Mary Ann Alexandra.
Yes.
Patrick Duhane.
Yes.
Mary Ann made the motion for the second one.
Second one, continuance for
Second.
90 days.
And we got that, just
You want the
second that.
Okay.
We had a show of hands, and we have a roll call vote again.
Henry Hale,
Yes.
Basil LaFors.
Yes.
Roger Black,
Yes.
Mary Ann Alexandra.
Yes.
Patrick Duhane.
Yes.
So the same thing that the applicant before you, we have, as Alan alluded to, we have submission dates and then the hearing dates. All of it's right on our website, so you have to have it 20 days before the meeting so that we can publish it, we can get it down to the county, the whole deal. If you get it before the 90 days, just follow that guideline and when it has to be submitted so that we can get it to the board members in time.
So we can have.
All that's right on our website.
Review.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we take a break?
Yep.
Yeah.
You take a 5 minute.
We'll have people.
Answer your question. Answer your question. They can get approved. That does
How many mulligans do you get? That's it. Are we gonna keep doing this? How many mulligans do you get? Yeah. She can't meet the front. She did the right way. She got a mulligan. She thought she could go through without addressing it at all. And she didn't. She's gonna come back. She doesn't She will come back and say,
Yeah.
oh, I'll be presenting our stand number two. You know, can we get it the way I need? Yeah, sure, why not?
Not in a minute.
You have.
But that's what we're talking about.